Welcome back to Under Baobab Skies. Under the endless stretch of the Sahara sky, the wind murmurs over dunes shaped by time itself. Shadows stretch long and soft, and the sand gleams with a muted gold, catching the last sighs of sunlight. Here, in this expanse of quiet and memory, the Teda family moves, their camels tracing slow, deliberate paths across the arid landscape. The horizon wavers in heat and mirage, yet the eyes of the herders are steady, attuned to every ridge, every shift of shadow, every subtle sound that might signal water, danger, or the faint steps of other travelers. Let us pause for a moment. The fire crackles gently as the night breathes around us. In this silence, you begin to sense that the desert speaks in whispers only the attentive can hear. Each gust of wind, each shifting grain of sand, carries knowledge passed down through generations, a language older than maps, older than borders, older than the steel of colonial intrusion. The Teda are children of this desert, and their lives are a rhythm measured not in hours, but in the heartbeat of the sand, the low, patient breathing of their camels, and the eternal sun that arcs above them. From the first light, the desert reveals both promise and peril. Water is scarce, shade is a fleeting blessing. Camels, tall and patient, kneel to be mounted, their humps rising like dunes themselves. The herders check their leather waterskins, feel the tautness of ropes, and whisper prayers for strength and guidance. This is not mere labor. It is ritual, a weaving together of survival and faith. They move with intention, speaking to their animals in low tones, in melodies shaped to soothe and guide. Each step is measured. Each glance at the horizon is a map of memory, a navigation passed down from parent to child. Let us pause for a moment. The fire crackles gently as the night breathes around us. Here, in the hush of the desert, even the smallest act carries weight. A Teda woman bends to inspect a camel's hoof, feeling the heat of the sand seeping through leather and skin alike. She smooths its coat, murmuring to the animal as if it were both friend and guide. This attention is the first lesson of the desert. Every life is connected, and neglect can ripple across dunes in ways unseen. In their hands, the tools of survival, ropes, gourds, knives, become instruments of memory, culture, and devotion. Beyond the immediate care of herd and family, the desert holds stories. Each dune, each cluster of acacia trees, each hidden waterhole is a chapter in a history too vast to be contained in books. Children learn the patterns of stars before the patterns of letters. They know which birds signal the approach of rain and which tracks reveal a stranger's passage. The Teda family is both scholar and pupil in this academy of sand and wind. Their education is lived, embodied, and passed along with patience and love. Let us pause for a moment. The fire crackles gently as the night breathes around us. The horizon begins to glow, a pale gold that promises the coming day. Camels stir, shifting their weight, lowing softly. The family breathes in unison, matching the cadence of hooves on sand. In these rhythms, one senses a profound truth. Survival in the desert is inseparable from attention, from care, from reverence. To live here is to listen, to watch, to honor the invisible threads that connect sky, sand, water, animal, and human. Even as the world beyond the desert moves at a different speed with machines. Borders, governments, the Teda live according to an older rhythm. Their authority comes not from papers or laws, but from wisdom passed down from ancestors, from the knowledge of the terrain, and from the intimacy of shared labor. Each sunrise is a ceremony, each day a test of endurance and devotion. Their footsteps leave impressions not just in sand, but in the continuing story of their people, echoing across centuries. Let us pause for a moment. The fire crackles gently as the night breathes around us. In this quiet, one begins to see the delicate balance of desert life. A camel's trust, a child's careful imitation of elders, the careful measurement of water, the soft murmur of prayer. Each action, however small, carries significance. Every day is both challenge and blessing, and the Teda meet it with the grace of those who understand their place within a vast and exacting world. And so, we begin our journey with the Teda family, walking alongside them through dunes and oases, through wind and sun, through silence and song. We follow the measured steps of camels, the patient guidance of elders, and the eager curiosity of children, learning the ways of sand and sky. We are not merely observers, but participants in a rhythm that has endured for generations. The desert teaches us that life is measured not in minutes, but in devotion, in care, in attention, in the faith that every step is part of a larger pattern that connects past, present, and future. Thank you for joining us. If you feel connected to these stories, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter of our journey. You are now under baobab skies, and the story begins now. In the vast, profound silence of the Sahara, long before the sun even dreams of rising, the desert breathes. It is not an empty space, but a living entity. The sand shifts in soft, whispered movements as the wind traces invisible patterns across its surface. High above, the stars burn with a steady, ancient fire, their light untroubled by the deep chill that seeps into bone. A Teda camp lies quiet, a small cluster of life in the immense stillness. The only sounds are the occasional soft groan of a camel or the final, gentle crackle of a dying ember from the night's fire. Here, the world feels not old in the sense of decay, but in its deep, unshakable patience. The night stretches out, a prayer still unfolding, a story without end. Inside, a small tent, woven from goat hair and coarse, sturdy cloth, a woman begins to stir. Her movements are a study in quiet deliberation, a silent dance passed down through generations. She reaches for a clay bowl, scooping cool water with her hand. She touches it to her face, first her forehead, then her lips, and finally her chest. It's a simple, profound ritual of cleansing, a way of preparing the body and spirit for the day ahead. In the quiet darkness, she whispers a few words. A greeting to the ancestors whose spirits linger in the wind. A humble request for balance in the coming light. Outside, her husband is already awake. He crouches near the fire pit, his form a silhouette against the fading stars. With practiced hands, he gently coaxes the embers back to life. A faint glow answers his call, a flicker of warmth in the cool air. Soon, the flame grows stronger, and a pot of tea is placed over it. Its low hum, the first song of the morning. Let us pause for a moment and just listen. The fire crackles, a comforting rhythm against the deep breath of the night. In your mind, you can almost hear the faint, melodic clink of metal cups as they are prepared. The soft, murmured voices exchanging just a few necessary words. The rustle of cloth is a gentle counterpoint. There are no raised voices, no rushed movements. The desert does not reward haste. It rewards presence. It rewards stillness. The family prepares slowly, honoring the quiet majesty of the darkness before the sun claims the sky. The children wake not to a jarring alarm, but to the familiar, comforting scent of wood smoke and the promise of sweetened tea. They sit cross-legged, still wrapped in their warm blankets, their eyes heavy with the remnants of dreams. One young boy lets out a yawn so wide it seems he might swallow the stars still lingering in the sky. His older sister, already composed, hands him a small piece of flatbread, hard and dense from yesterday's baking. He chews on it quietly, his small face serious. Every gesture here is a lesson learned without words. Patience in the face of hunger, endurance for the day's labor, and a deep humility before the vastness that surrounds them. As the eastern horizon begins to soften, shifting from inky black to a pale, ethereal blue, the herder rises to his full height. His silhouette is a powerful, stark cut against the approaching dawn. He moves to his camels, checking the ropes coiled neatly beside them. He runs his fingers over the worn leather of the saddles, testing for any sign of weakness, or where a good herder trusts his tools as he trusts his own instincts. Both are essential for survival. Beside him, the women move in a seamless, practiced rhythm. They roll sleeping mats with swift, efficient hands, and tie bundles containing their precious supplies, dates for energy, dried meat for sustenance, and gourd vessels filled with water. The children, too, have their roles. Their small figures move like shadows in the dim light as they gather dried dung for fuel, their contribution as vital as any other. The family is a single organism, each part moving in harmony with the whole. Then, a single, clear note pierces the silence, the first call of a desert lark. It is the official announcement that the night is ending. The camels, sensing the shift, begin to stir. They groan, stretch their long limbs, and then gracefully kneel, ready to be loaded. The family works as one, a symphony of purpose. There are no wasted movements, no confused instructions. The desert demands harmony, not command. It's a truth the animals seem to understand as well. They know the order of things, the comforting sound of familiar voices, the gentle touch of a trusted hand. Let us pause again and imagine this moment. A woman ties a scarf across her head, its brightly colored ends fluttering in the slight morning breeze like prayer ribbons. She begins to hum a soft, ancient melody. The words of the song, if you could translate them, would be a prayer. May the sun rise gently. May our feet find the safe path. In this fragile, beautiful transition from night to day, the line between the practical act of survival and the sacred act of ceremony completely disappears. They are one and the same. The first true rays of the sun finally arrive, brushing the tops of the dunes with liquid gold. The horizon seems to crack open, and the world expands into a breathtaking vastness. The lead herder mounts his camel, a fluid, graceful movement. He adjusts the leather strap that holds his spear, a tool of protection and guidance. Behind him, another man counts the animals, not just with his eyes, but with a deeper sense of knowing. He doesn't just see numbers, he feels their presence, their rhythm. He would know instantly if one was missing, even if it were hidden behind a dune. His gaze is both mathematical and spiritual. It measures absence as a kind of wound to the family's well-being. Soon, the caravan begins to move. The sound of their journey is the soft, steady percussion of hooves on sander, gentle, persistent heartbeat in the immense quiet of the desert. Dust rises in their wake, curling into the cool morning air like sacred incense. For a time, the family rides in a companionable silence, each person lost in their own thoughts, their own quiet prayers. The eldest child, perched securely behind her father, watches the dunes with an intense focus. She is learning their secret language, how the curve of one ridge can indicate direction, how the patterns etched by the wind can reveal the coming weather. Her father leans back and explains in a low voice that no dune is ever truly still, and yet each one holds memory, a history written in sand. The desert stretches before them, seemingly infinite, an endless sea of sand and sky. But to the Teda, this is not a void. It is home. It is a landscape rich with signs and markers, invisible to the outsider's eye. The specific shape of a lone acacia tree, the subtle change in the color of sand near a dry riverbed, the faint, almost imperceptible tracks of a desert foxhole are clues, pieces of a map carried in the mind. Their ancestors read these same signs centuries ago, navigating by a wisdom passed down through blood and story. Here, a compass is not a magnetic tool. It is the body's own innate intelligence, its deep connection to the land. Let us hold this image. The herder's eyes, narrowed against the growing light, trace the horizon. He is scanning for the telltale shimmer that marks the location of distant water, a promise of life. He clicks his tongue twice, a specific sound, and the lead camel responds instantly, adjusting its course. Behind him, his wife rides side saddle, a small child wrapped securely in a cloth at her back, sleeping peacefully. She hums again, her melody now blending seamlessly with the rhythmic sound of the camel's hooves. In her voice, you can hear the very pulse of the deserter song of both sorrow and strength, resilience and love intertwined. By the time the sun stands fully awake, high in the sky, the family is deep into their journey. The air grows warmer, the light more intense and harsh. They find a moment of grace, stopping briefly in the shade of a small cluster of rocks, a rare and precious gift in this sun-drenched land. Water skins are passed around, and each person drinks in silent gratitude. Before the skins are tied shut, a few drops of the precious liquid are sprinkled onto the sand. It is an offering, a libation to the ancestors, a quiet acknowledgement that life here is always borrowed, never owned. It is a gesture of respect to the desert that both sustains and challenges them. Soon they will continue, moving deeper into the heart of the landscape. The day will bring its own trials, dunes that shift like living things, mirages that play tricks on the eyes, perhaps the faint, distant echo of other travelers. But for now, this quiet, sacred dawn ritual has set the rhythm for their lives, grounding them in purpose and unity. For the Teda people, dawn is not simply the start of a day's work. It is a profound reaffirmation of their identity, a renewal of their bond with the land and with each other. It is a moment of gratitude for the life they have, and a commitment to the discipline required to maintain it. It is the sacred time when the seen and unseen worlds meet. The ancestors who whisper in the wind, the children who represent the present, and the promise of the unborn carried in the endless horizon. And as the sun climbs higher and higher, so too rises their resolve to continue, to endure, and to carry the memory of their people forward. One steady step at a time, across the timeless sands. The sun now rules the sky. It burns like a slow, insistent drumbeat above the dunes, and every shadow seeks refuge beneath its own silence. A Teda herder adjusts his white cloth turban, the chech to shield his eyes. He squints toward an invisible road, a path that only a lifetime of experience can reveal. To a stranger, this vast expanse of sand is an endless, intimidating sameness. But to him, it is a living map, written in the language of the wind, the subtle slope of a dune, the deep well of memory. The wind begins to rise, not in anger, but as a gentle counselor. It sculpts the dunes, as if teaching them humility with each grain of sand it moves. The herder's camel snorts, shaking the bells around its neck. A soft, solitary chime cuts through the immense quiet. He murmurs, 80, 80. It's a gentle word of reassurance, a sound that speaks of partnership and trust. In the Sahara, every sound matters. A misplaced shout could scatter the herd or create echoes that confuse direction. Here, sound is a compass, and silence is a form of profound respect for the world around you. Let's pause for a moment and just feel this place. The heat shimmers across the horizon, making the very air dance and warp reality. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the sigh of the dunes as they shift, the soft creak of leather under the weight of supplies, the quiet, rhythmic breathing of creatures bound together by necessity and survival. The herder glances down. Beneath his camel's wide, padded feet are faint prints marks of those who passed before. They could be yesterday's traders, or perhaps the ghostly footprints of his own kin from generations past. Every trail in the desert tells a story, and it's a story that has no end. His eldest son rides slightly behind him, his young eyes watching everything with intense focus. The father points toward the northwest, where a broken line of black stones disrupts the golden monotony. "Those rocks," he says softly, his voice carrying just above the whisper of the wind, "were placed by our grandfathers. They mark the safe way to our Ozu. The wells there still remember our thirst." In these few words, he has passed on geography, lineage, and the keys to survival. The boy repeats the direction under his breath, committing it to memory. He must learn to navigate without a map or a compass. For the Teda, orientation is not a skill learned from tools, it is an inheritance, passed down through story. They move on, guided by the sun and the ever-present wind. The camels sway in a hypnotic, rhythmic dance, their shadows stretching long and patient beside them. A group of women walks behind, balancing bundles of dried grass and heavy water skins on their heads with practiced grace. They follow the men's tracks, but not necessarily their lead. They carry their own deep knowledge of the terrain, attuned to subtler signs that others might miss. The faint smell of moisture on the breeze, the specific color of wind-blown soil that signals harder ground. They are a library of desert wisdom, walking in silent harmony with the land. By midday, the heat presses down like a physical hand, relentless and heavy. The horizon bends and shimmers, creating mirages, a glistening lake that isn't there. A grove of palm trees that dissolves as you approach. The Teda do not chase these illusions. They know the desert's tricks. Instead, they read the wind's whisper. The father tastes the air, sensing a trace of salt that tells him a dry basin is nearby, a place that might have held water after the last rains. It's a landmark of what was and what could be again. The desert is never static. It moves and breathes, even when it seems perfectly still. A clear path from one day can be completely erased by the next morning's wind. This is why the herders carry stories more faithfully than they carry supplies. Stored in their collective memory are the locations of hidden wells, protective resting stones, the territories of friendly encampments, and the familiar shapes of constellations that point the way home when all else is dark. Let's pause again. The heat hums with a palpable energy. The camels kneel in unison as the herders stop for midday prayer. Their voices are low, the syllables ancient and resonant. They face east, toward the Tibesti Mountains, where their ancestors once walked. In this landscape, to travel is a form of worship, and each step is a remembrance of origin. They drink sparingly from their water skins, share a few sweet dates for energy, and then, without a wasted moment, they move on. The sand crunches softly underfoot. A young woman hums a simple tune, a melody that carries on the wind. It's a song of endurance, its notes weaving into the fabric of the journey. The children playfully imitate the calls of the camels, learning without realizing it how sound travels differently in the dense heat versus the cool shade. The elders smile. They know that every lesson here in this great, beautiful, and harsh school is survival disguised as play. As the afternoon wanes, the wind shifts. It picks up fine sand that stings the eyes and gets into everything. The herder wraps his cloth turban tighter around his face, leaving only a slit for his eyes. He recognizes this change instantly. It's the breath of a small campsin, a localized dust wind that can blind a traveler and completely bury their tracks in minutes. "Keep close," he calls out, but his voice remains steady, a calm anchor in the rising chaos. The family huddles tighter, drawing together for protection as the camels instinctively kneel to wait out the gust. When visibility drops to near zero, they rely on the unseen. They navigate by the memory of angles, the feel of the dunes slope beneath their feet. The direction of the camels lean against the wind. The Teda trust their bodies to recall what their sight cannot. In the desert, knowledge isn't something you simply know. It's something that knows you back. It lives in your bones, in your muscles, in your instincts. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours. Finally, the sun dips lower, painting the swirling world in magnificent shades of copper, rose, and ash. The wind eases at last, leaving behind a silence so deep and profound it feels sacred. The herder looks back. Their tracks are gone, completely swallowed by the sand. Yet he smiles. That is the desert's way. It erases the footprints, but it never erases the journey. Let's pause one last time. Imagine the scene now as night begins to breathe around us. The fire crackles gently, a small beacon of warmth and life. The herder dismounts, pressing his hand into the cooling sand. He whispers a quiet thanks not for arriving at a destination, but for the endurance to continue. Every single step he took today was an act of profound trust, both in the earth beneath him and in the memories within him. As darkness settles completely, the stars spill across the heavens like scattered salt on a black cloth. The herders make camp beside a low, protective ridge. The camels kneel, their grunts of relief echoing softly as their heavy burdens are removed. Fires are lit with careful frugality. They use only enough wood to brew their strong, sweet tea. Nothing is ever wasted. The father and son sit side by side, their silhouettes merging with the ancient landscape. "Tomorrow," the father says, his voice a low rumble in the quiet night, "we will follow the track of the moon. She always remembers where the wells hide." The boy nods, his eyes heavy with sleep, but filled with the day's lessons. The wind has softened into a gentle lullaby. Somewhere in the far distance, a faint bell chimes, the sound of another caravan. It's a comforting reminder that they are not alone, but simply part of a larger, ancient rhythm that pulses across the Sahara. In the heart of the desert, time does not move in a straight line. It circles. Every journey retraces another. Every dawn repeats the prayers of the last. To follow the tracks of your ancestors is not to walk behind them, is to walk within them. Their footsteps are the dunes. Their wisdom is the stars. Their presence is the silence. And as the last flames of the fire dim to glowing embers, the family rests. They are wrapped in sand, in story, and in faith, awaiting another dawn that will demand the same strength, the same grace, and the same unbroken rhythm of survival. Morning returns without a hurry. The desert wakes like an old singer, clearing his throat, a low hum of wind. The groan of settling sand, the murmured rustle of hooves shifting against the cold ground. The Teda family rises from thin blankets, brushing the night's dust from their faces. The father tends to the camels first, his movements deliberate and wordless. Around him, silence feels a liver creature that listens, that holds its breath. Soon, the campfire crackles to life again, its smoke coiling thinly into the pale, vast sky. The mother pours tea from a soot-blackened kettle, a ritual of patience rather than urgency. Steam curls upward like a silent prayer. They drink together, each sip binding them for the day's journey ahead. No one speaks yet. In the desert, speech is saved for necessity, so words retain their weight, their value. Let's pause for a moment here. The first rays of sun spill across the dunes, painting everything in liquid gold. The fire flickers against their faces, and for a brief, magical instant, they look like carvings of time itself, ancient and enduring. Today, S-route cuts near an old trade path, one that once connected the oases of Bilma and Kutfrey, now half swallowed by the ever-shifting sand. As the camels kneel and then rise with a groan, the father's eyes sharpen. He senses company long before he sees it, a shimmer of movement in the far west. Too steady to be the wind, he lifts his hand. Halt! The small caravan stills as though turned to stone, a silent tableau against the rising sun. Minutes pass, stretching into an eternity. Then 3 distant riders materialize, small as ants at first, then slowly growing into human shapes against the stark horizon. They meet halfway, both groups cautious but polite. Desert etiquette demands greeting before suspicion, a code of conduct born from shared hardship. The strangers wear indigo turbans, their camels draped in tassels that mark them as traders from the North Tour. Perhaps their leader raises a palm and calls out in Arabic, "Peace upon your path." The Teda herder responds in kind, his tone even and measured. Both men know the desert's first and most important law: no one survives here alone. Hospitality and defense coexist like twin blades, always ready, always balanced. They exchange water, first a gesture older than speech, a symbol of life offered and received. Then, with careful measure, they begin to barter: salt for milk, cloth for dried meat, beads for small kindnesses. It is less a transaction than a ritual, a quiet reaffirmation that humanity still flickers and persists beneath this vast, beautiful indifference of sand and sky. By noon, the groups part ways, offering blessings for safe passage. The wind soon erases their tracks, but not their mutual memory. To meet another soul in this emptiness is to glimpse a mirror, precious proof that life persists beyond one's own footprints. Yet not all encounters in the desert bring comfort. Days later, as the Teda family approaches a dry wadi, the air grows heavy with a palpable tension. The father halts again, this time reacting to a scent, not a sight. The camels twitch uneasily. Somewhere nearby, hyenas prowl the carcass of a lost animal. Death here is neither cruel nor strange, it is simply part of the landscape, a constant reminder of how thin survival's thread truly is. They detour southward, carefully skirting the wadi's rim. The boy glances back, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. His father places a steady hand on his shoulder, a silent reassurance. "Even the beasts teach us," he murmurs, his voice low. "They remind us why we move before thirst finds us." Let's pause again for a moment. The desert feels heavier now, but still serene, like a temple built of silence and light. The sun begins its slow descent, and the wind cools. You can almost taste the grit of sand on your tongue, smell the profound dryness that clings to everything alive. That night, they make camp near an old acacia tree, its gnarled roots reaching deep enough to taste hidden moisture far below the surface. There, another kind of encounter awaits them. From the deep darkness beyond their fire, a soft voice calls out not a threat, but a greeting. A lone traveler steps into the small circle of light, wrapped in a faded robe, his eyes hollow but kind. He carries no camel, only a small bundle of goods. "My beast died," he says quietly. "The storm took her." The father nods once, a simple, understanding gesture, and motions for him to come closer. In the desert, there is always room for one more in the circle of flame. They share tea and silence, the fire crackling between them. Around them, the desert listens, a silent witness to this small act of fellowship. The traveler speaks of places they have never seen, oases, guarded by ancient spirits, wells that open only to those who sing the right song. He has the air of both a mystic and a wanderer, a man who walks between worlds. Before the first light of dawn, he departs as quietly as he arrived, leaving behind a small, carved amulet, a charm of bone etched with the mark of protection. No one asks if he was man or memory. In the desert, such questions mean little. What matters is the blessing he left behind, a promise whispered in sand and smoke. Let's pause one last time. The fire crackles gently as the night breathes around us. Imagine the amulet glowing faintly in the dark, swinging from the boy's neck as the family sleeps, watched over by the unseen. When dawn comes again, the Teda pack their things. Another day begins, another horizon to chase, but their hearts are fuller not from material gain, but from connection. Every meeting in the wilderness, whether with trader, beast, or spirit, shapes the rhythm of their existence, adding a new note to their song of survival. To endure here is to remain opened, to give and receive, to share and retreat, to understand that every soul crossing this land carries a piece of the desert within them. As the camels rise and the caravan moves on, the father looks back one more time. The wind has already erased the camp, as if they were never there. Yet something lingers, the faint memory of shared firelight, of exchanged blessings, of footsteps that belonged briefly to others before being claimed once more by the sand. The desert keeps its secrets well, but those who walk it know. Every grain of sand remembers the warmth of passing life. Long before the sun graces the desert, a figure stirs. It's the patriarch of a Teda family. His movements are precise, almost ceremonial, polished over decades of repetition. His hands, weathered and tough from handling ropes and reins, move with purpose. He checks the camel's hooves for any signs of trouble, adjusts the saddles until they sit just right, and inspects the water skins with a trained, meticulous eye. Every piece of equipment carries a story and a responsibility. A single torn strap could mean disaster on the vast, unforgiving dunes. He murmurs to the animals, his voice a low, steady hum. Are they commands? Are they prayers? Only the desert seems to know the difference. He pauses at the edge of the camp, a silhouette against the pre-dawn glow. The wind is his newspaper, carrying messages from across the sands. He hears the faint, distant bell from a neighbor's herd, a signal of their location and well-being. He sees the call of a hawk circling high on the horizon, a hunter surveying its domain. He feels the hollow echo of sand shifting under the breeze. Each of these subtle signals must be read and interpreted, because any one of them could change the entire course of the day. To survive out here, you must learn to read the earth and the sky as if they are a sacred text, written in symbols far older than human memory. Let's just pause here for a moment. The sun hasn't yet warmed the sand, but it's pale. Early light is beginning to trace the elegant curves of the dunes. The camels breathe in a slow, steady rhythm, their large bodies at rest. The family begins to stir inside the tents, and the desert itself seems to hold its breath, waiting for the first crucial decision of the day to be made. The father's duties go far beyond his animals. He is the family's diplomat, negotiating with other nomadic families. When times are tough and resources are scarce, he might trade camels, milk, or grains. These are not simple, casual transactions. Each exchange is layered with social and political weight, weaving clans together in intricate networks of obligation and trust. A single misstep in these negotiations, slight in his tone, an oversight in ensuring fairness could unravel alliances that took months, or even years, to build. His eyes, full of the wisdom of countless seasons, survey the other herders, constantly seeking to maintain both honor and a delicate balance. At midday, the desert heat is at its peak. He stops beside a well, a precious source of life in this arid landscape. He draws water with a patience that feels as old as the desert itself, a rhythm passed down through centuries. His children gather around, watching him intently. They aren't just watching him draw water. They are learning a vital lesson in survival. Every drop he carefully dispenses is a lesson in itself. How to measure, how to share, and how to respect the fragile bounty that sustains all life in this expansive, challenging world. They watch how he cups the water, how he gives it to the camels first, understanding that their survival is intertwined. Leadership here is never a passive role. When the shapes of strangers appear on the distant horizon, it is the patriarch who must make the call. Are they welcomed as friends? Are they to be treated with caution? Is this an opportunity for trade, or should they be denied passage? His voice, always calm yet firm, sets the tone for the entire family. In moments of potential conflict, he reaches into a deep well of ancestral knowledge, recalling stories told by the elders' timeless lessons of honor, patience, and justice. The desert can hold grudges for a long time, but it also respects those who act with clarity, wisdom, and foresight. Sometimes, the most important negotiations happen without a single word being spoken. A shared glance across the sand, a specific hand gesture, even the way the camels are arranged in a line. These all speak volumes in the silent language of the dunes. An outsider might just see men and animals standing in the sun, but the Teda people see a complex dialogue unfolding. Every alignment of the camels can be a treaty. Every measured step can be a promise. The patriarch carries countless generations of this knowledge within him, a living library of the social rhythms that keep his family safe and alive. Let's pause again for a moment. Feel the sun as it climbs higher in the sky, its heat warming the leather of the saddles and the cloth of their robes. Listen closely. You can hear the slow, deep breathing of the camels, the whisper of sand shifting beneath their hooves, and maybe, if you listen carefully, the faint call of those distant travelers on the wind. Every sound is a syllable in the long, ongoing poem of survival. As evening approaches, he takes account. He knows every member of his herd, and he methodically checks that each one is present and safe. A missing camel is more than just a loss of wealth. It's a disruption to the herd, a lesson to be learned, and a story that will be told to future generations. When the children grow tired from the day's journey, he lifts them gently onto the saddles. He shows them how balance and patience must ride hand in hand. The smallest movements are lessons in responsibility. A slight shift in weight could unseat a child. A misjudged step could injure a camel. Discipline is not about punishment. It's woven together with care, just like the intricate leather straps and colorful beads that adorn the animals. As dusk begins to settle, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the patriarch gathers his family around a crackling fire. This is the time for stories. He doesn't recount tales of battles won or lost, but of alliances that were successfully preserved, of animals that were saved from danger, and of long journeys completed without catastrophe. Every story is a lesson, teaching the values of foresight, community, and humility. He reminds his children that true authority isn't about dominance, but about careful stewardship. The desert, he explains, is both their greatest adversary and their most profound teacher. He sips his tea slowly, inhaling its warmth as the sky deepens into a rich indigo. The camels kneel in the background, their powerful forms now just silhouettes against the twilight. The family listens intently, the children's eyes wide, reflecting both the flickering firelight and the vast, starry horizon. In this quiet moment, the patriarch feels the pulse of continuity. He knows that his actions today will ripple through tomorrow, as certain and as constant as the desert wind. Long after the camp has fallen asleep, the patriarch remains vigilant. His eyes scan the shifting shadows, watching for predators, for camels that might wander off, for any sign of change in the wind or sand. Leadership in the desert never truly rests. The weight of his lineage, of the alliances he maintains, and the safety of his family presses on his shoulders lightly but insistently. Yet, in this constant burden, he finds his purpose. It's the assurance that his family's path is guided, that their history flows through living veins, and that every measured action he takes works to preserve their honor and ensure their survival. Through his unending patience, his keen observation, and his quiet, unwavering authority, he ensures that his Teda family endures. Each sunrise they witness, and each sunset they watch, is a testament to the power of continuity in the heart of the endless sands. The desert offers no mercy, but under his careful guidance, it offers lessons, it offers a rhythm, and it offers life. In the heart of the world's most unforgiving landscapes, where sand stretches to meet an endless sky, life follows an ancient rhythm. For the nomadic tribes of the desert, survival is a delicate dance, and at the very core of this dance are the women. Their story is not one of dramatic battles, but of quiet strength, of endurance etched into every sunrise and every grain of sand. Before the sun's heat becomes a crushing weight upon the dunes, the women rise. Their bare feet know the cool sand, treading with a certainty that comes from generations of inherited knowledge. The day's first and most essential task begins with the camels, the lifeblood of their community. Hands, both strong and gentle, move with practiced grace, milking the camels, checking their coats for sores, and ensuring each animal is ready for the long day's journey. This is more than just a chore. It's a ritual. The milk, collected in cool clay pots, is not merely sustenance. It's a promise of nourishment for the youngest children and the most respected elders, a thread of life connecting the entire clan. While the men often take on the roles of negotiation with other tribes and protection from external threats, it is the women who are the living libraries of their people. They hold the maps in their minds, the secret locations of waterholes that appear and disappear with the seasons, the hidden trails that offer shortcuts through treacherous terrain, and the subtle signs that warn of predators lurking in the shadows. This vital knowledge isn't written in books. It's woven into the very fabric of their culture. It's passed down through songs, their melodies carrying lessons across generations, marking the passage of days and the turning of seasons. The youngest girls learn not by formal instruction, but by listening, their small voices imitating the soft, enduring tones of their mothers and grandmothers. They absorb these skills and memories as naturally as they breathe. The rhythm of the day continues with the essential work of maintaining the camp. Tents, battered by wind and sand, are meticulously repaired. Utensils are cleaned, and the communal spaces, the heart of their social world, are kept tidy. You will see them walking back from distant wells, balancing heavy pots of water on their heads, their backs impossibly straight, their eyes ever alert. Every step is measured, every movement is a study in efficiency, a choreography refined over centuries of desert life. Let's just pause here for a moment. Imagine the scene. The sun is climbing higher, its light shimmering across the vast expanse of sand and the leather of the saddles. A gentle wind, a rare gift, in the desert, carries a unique perfume, the scent of camels, of the red ochre paste on their skin, of baked earth and the faint, sweet smell of distant acacia trees. The entire camp hums with a quiet, purposeful energy. Life here is not rushed. It is measured, deliberate, and deeply harmonious. Crafting is another of the women's vital duties, and it is here that their role as cultural guardians truly shines. They braid hair into intricate, beautiful designs. They mix and apply *ojais*, the distinctive red ochre and butterfat paste, to their skin and hair. They adorn themselves and their children with shells, intricate beads, and polished cowries. But this is far from simple decoration. Each style of braid, each pattern of beads, each application of the red earth is a language. It communicates identity, age, marital status, and social standing. Mothers guide their daughters' hands in these ancient rituals, teaching them that beauty and survival are inextricably linked, that adornment is a form of protection, a signal of belonging, and an expression of their heritage. The preparation of meals is another classroom. Women roast grains over open fires, grind flour between smooth stones, and cook nourishing stews in large, communal pots. The children cluster close, not just to sneak a taste, but to learn. They learned the recipes passed down through countless grandmothers. They learned the etiquette of sharing, and they absorbed the cadence of storytelling. As they work, the elders recount their history, the great migrations of their ancestors, the dramatic encounters with other clans, the stories of droughts endured and overcome, and the timeless wisdom of those who came before. Every lesson is framed within the rhythm of daily labor, invisibly tying the act of survival to the soul of their culture. Water in the desert. It is both life and a constant, pressing challenge. It falls to the women to manage this most precious resource. They lead small groups, sometimes with a few pack animals, to the wells. They sing quietly as they walk, the melodies steadying their own steps and reassuring the animals. They measure the rations with an expert eye, planning for scarcity, ensuring that no one, not a single person or a single camel, is left vulnerable. They understand the desert's harsh terms. It is vast and can be merciless, but it rewards those who pay attention, who show respect, and who possess the foresight to plan for the driest of days. Let's pause again and just feel this moment. The air shimmers with the midday heat, and the horizon seems to bend and warp in the distance. The camels graze slowly, methodically. The children, having learned their lessons, murmur in low voices as they play, and the women move with that same steady, unhurried purpose. Their gestures are at once practical and ceremonial. This is what it looks like when labor is transformed into a form of prayer, into a living memory and a promise of continuity. As the fierce sun begins its descent, casting long, dramatic shadows across the dunes, the evening preparations begin. The women's work is not yet done. They ensure the animals are gathered and positioned safely for the night. Fires, which will provide warmth and ward off predators, are lit, their flames dancing in the growing darkness. The tents are secured against the cold night wind that will soon sweep across the desert. The children are gathered close, and under a canopy of stars more brilliant than you can possibly imagine, the stories are told once more. In these quiet, intimate hours, the desert itself seems to become both protector and teacher. Its voice whispering through the shifting dunes and the soft sighs of the resting camels. Through all this endless labor, it is the women who maintain the unbroken thread of continuity. They are the keepers of memory, the masters of craft, the carriers of song, and the providers of sustenance. The family, the clan, The entire culture survives because they embody this incredible endurance, this deep wisdom, and this unwavering rhythm. Their movements are a form of poetry in motion. Every intricate braid, every handcrafted clay pot, every softly sung melody is a testament to ancestral knowledge carried forward with a quiet, unshakable strength. As night finally settles over the vast, silent landscape, the women's labor finally slows. But their vigilance, their care, never truly ceases. Their hearts, you feel, must pulse with the rhythm of their family, the rhythm of the desert, and the rhythm of generations intertwined. The work of these women is both visible and invisible, practical and sacred. It is the very backbone of survival and the soul of cultural preservation. Their legacy is written not in stone, but in the living, breathing, enduring spirit of their people. The first light of dawn spills across the Sahara, painting the dunes in soft hues of gold and rose. Here, in the vast, silent heart of the desert, life stirs not to the sound of an alarm, but to a rhythm as old as the sand itself. Before the adults even begin their day, small feet make the first prints in the soft, cool earth. The children of the Teda are rising. They are not simply waking up, they are stepping into a living classroom, absorbing the tasks and stories of their people like seeds sown in fertile ground. They are the family's living memory, learning not through lectures or books, but through imitation. They watch the elders milk the camels, their hands moving with practiced grace. They observe how a fire is coaxed to life from a few embers, how the shifting dunes are navigated not as obstacles, but as a familiar, ever-changing map. Every gesture, every step, every breath taken by their elders carries a lesson they will carry into their own adulthood. The very first lesson they learn is rhythm. It's the rhythm of the camel's steady, swaying gait as they traverse the endless landscape. The children learn to move in perfect step with this pace, to balance their small bodies on the uneven terrain, and to understand the subtle, silent language of the animals. A flick of a tail, a slight shift of weight, the gentle tilt of a head, these are all signals, a conversation happening without words. Through constant repetition, they internalize the very pulse of desert life. Their parents encourage them not with commands, but with songs and chants. These are soft, ancient melodies that forge an unbreakable link between the children, the animals, and the land they call home. The tunes are practical, used to coax a stubborn camel or calm a child's fear. But they are also sacred, carrying ancestral memories across the generations, a thread of sound connecting the past to the present. Even their play is purposeful, a rehearsal for the life that awaits them. Their games mimic the essential tasks of their people, herding, bartering, and guarding the precious herd. You might see a group of children pretending to lead a great caravan, their voices serious as they count their imaginary animals, measure out water, and signal for unseen dangers with gestures learned directly from the elders. Laughter weaves through these exercises, light and free, but every movement is a lesson in disguise. Every mistake is not a failure, but a moment of quiet growth, a chance to learn and adapt. The desert doesn't offer second chances, so every lesson, even in play, is absorbed with a focus that belies their young age. Let's pause for a moment. Listen. The wind sweeps across the dunes, a constant, whispering voice. It carries stories of journeys past, of ancestors who walked these same paths. The camels graze slowly, their powerful jaws grinding rhythmically. A group of children sits nearby, their play momentarily forgotten. Their eyes are wide with attention, watching everything, learning the patterns of survival without a single word being spoken. The desert is speaking, and they, its youngest students, are listening with their whole beings. This quiet observation is as crucial as any active lesson. It teaches them patience, the art of stillness in a world that is always moving. They learn to read the landscape, to understand the subtle shifts in the wind and sand, and to feel the deep, abiding connection to the world around them. Their education continues as the day unfolds, woven into the fabric of daily life through song and oral recitation. When the sun is high and the work pauses, the elders gather the youth around them. This is the time for stories. They recount the epic tales of ancestors who traversed even harsher sands, who navigated threats from wildlife and rival clans, and who, against all odds, maintained harmony in the face of scarcity. The children listen, rapt, memorizing these stories, internalizing the profound wisdom of resilience and the intricate rhythm of community life. These aren't just fables, they are a living curriculum. The songs teach geography, mapping out watering holes and ancient routes. They teach history, preserving the lineage of the family. And they teach ethics, outlining the values of cooperation, respect, and courage. All of it is embedded in melody and memory, passed down not on paper, but on the breath of the elders. By midday, the youth begin to take on small but significant responsibilities. The youngest child might be tasked with guiding a single, gentle camel, learning the feel of the rope in their small hands. Older children are given small herding tasks. They ensure the water containers are full, a life-sustaining duty. They learn to direct the animals to the rare patches of shade, protecting them from the harshest rays of the sun. They are also the first line of defense, trained to alert the elders to the slightest sign of sickness or distress in an animal. Each small success builds their confidence, a quiet pride in their growing competence. And each misstep is met not with scolding, but with gentle guidance, a moment to refine their judgment, patience, and sense of responsibility. They are not just learning tasks. They are learning to care for the beings that ensure their family's survival. Meals are a communal affair, shared in the precious shade of a tent or a lone acacia tree. Here, too, the learning continues. Children learn to prepare the grains that form a staple of their diet, to tend the small cooking fires, and to serve the elders first. An act of respect that reinforces the family structure. These culinary skills are intricately intertwined with storytelling. As they knead dough or stir a pot, they listen to more tales, reinforcing the lessons of community, hierarchy, and care. Every gesture, from pouring water to sharing food, teaches rhythm, reverence, and attention to detail. These are the core values necessary for the survival of both the family and the herd, practiced 3 times a day, every day. Let's pause again and just be here for a moment. The sun has reached its zenith, arcing high in the vast blue sky. It casts long, stark shadows across the sand, transforming the landscape. The camels breathe softly in the heat, their long lashes shielding their eyes. Nearby, the children hum the songs they learned in the dawn hours. Their small hands rest on the warm, coarse hides of the animals, their voices carrying both a child's affection and the weight of instruction. They are in constant communication with the herd, a bond built on touch, sound, and shared existence. And the desert listens, as it always has, holding the sounds of their songs and the soft beat of their hearts. The afternoon brings more active lessons. This is the time for riding practice and for observing the wider landscape. The youth trace ancient tracks in the sand, learning to identify the subtle cues in the shape of the dunes and the sparse vegetation that can guide a traveler. The older children are taught to read the sky. They learn to recognize the signs of an approaching storm, or to spot the dust kicked up by distant travelers on the horizon. The desert itself becomes both their classroom and their mentor. It offers profound lessons in patience as they wait for a sign. It teaches keen observation as they scan the horizon for hours, and it builds a deep well of courage as they learn to face its immense, beautiful, and unforgiving nature. As evening approaches, the desert air cools and the light softens. This is a sacred time for the Teda. Families gather, the children forming a close circle around the elders. The day's lessons are reviewed and reinforced through practice. They practice the songs until the melodies are part of their being. They mimic the rituals that structure their spiritual life. They repeat the proverbs that hold generations of wisdom in a few short words. Every note they sing, every gesture they make, reinforces their connection to their family, to their herd, and to the ancestors whose paths they now follow. The youth learn a crucial lesson, that growing up is not just about acquiring skills. It is about understanding one's place in a great, unbroken continuum. It is about respecting the lineage that came before them and preparing to bear the weight of responsibility for those who will come after. Through these days, filled with sun, wind, and sand, the children become perfectly attuned to the desert's rhythm, the camel's pace, and the unspoken language of survival. They are apprentices in the art of endurance. They are carriers of a living, breathing memory. They are the inheritors of a lineage shaped by patience, care, and an unwavering devotion to their way of life. The knowledge they hold isn't abstract. It's written in their muscles from walking miles across the sand. It's felt in their hands from guiding the camels, and it lives in their hearts through the songs of their people. Finally, as the moon rises, casting a silver glow over the silent dunes, the children sleep. They sleep lightly, always close to the herd. Their dreams filled with the landscapes of their waking hours, endless sand dunes, whispered lessons from their elders, and the steady, comforting heartbeat of the camels beneath them. By nightfall, the children of the Teda family are both students and full participants in a life lived in profound harmony with the desert. They are learning with every breath that every step they take, every song they sing, and every camel they guide is carrying forward the immense, beautiful, and essential wisdom of generations. In the vast, silent heart of the Sahara, where the sun paints the dunes in hues of gold and amber, life moves to an ancient rhythm. For the Teda people, nomadic masters of this formidable landscape, every journey begins not just with a physical step, but with a spiritual one. Before a single camel rises, before the caravan begins its slow, deliberate march across the sand, a sacred ritual unfolds. A covenant between humanity, the desert, and the spirits that have guided them for centuries. Imagine this. The cool morning air bites gently, and the breaths of resting camels form soft clouds against the dawn. The Teda family gathers in a circle near a flickering fire, their silhouettes stark against the rising sun. The patriarch, the keeper of traditions, steps forward. In his hands are water and grains, symbols of life and sustenance. As he sprinkles them onto the soft sand, his voice is a low murmur, a string of prayers woven into the fabric of the morning, seeking protection and a safe passage. This is not a performance. It is a profound act of connection. Each family member has their part to play in this sacred theatre. The children, their eyes wide with reverence, repeat the ancient phrases, their young voices learning the cadence of their ancestors. The women, with deft, practiced movements, adjust the protective charms that adorn their clothing and the camel's gear. The men reach out, their hands brushing against the sacred amulets fastened to the heavy leather saddles. These gestures, passed down through countless generations, are a living testament to a deep-seated belief system where the spiritual and the physical are inseparable. They are acknowledging that survival in this harsh, beautiful world depends on more than just skill and endurance. It requires harmony with the unseen forces that govern the desert. The complexity of these rituals is a direct reflection of the journey ahead. A short trip to a familiar waterhole might only require a whispered incantation, a brief acknowledgement to the spirits of the land. But for the long, arduous treks that cross shifting dunes and tribal borders, the rituals become more elaborate. Offerings of precious milk, sweet dates, and fragrant incense are carefully laid upon the sand. Each offering is a recognition of the world in its entirety. The visible elements, like the steadfast camels, the endless sand, and the life-giving sun, are honored alongside the invisible forces. The watchful eyes of ancestors, the powerful desert spirits, and the protective deities who have watched over their lineage since time immemorial. For the Teda, knowledge is not written in books. It is absorbed through observation and participation. From their earliest years, children are immersed in these rituals. They watch, they listen, and they mimic. They memorize the sequence of movements, the rhythm of prayer, and the specific intonation of each chant. Every single gesture is laden with meaning. A slight bow of the head is a sign of respect to the unseen guardians of the path. A sprinkle of water symbolizes the precious, life-sustaining flow that is so rare in this arid land. And when they murmur the name of an ancestor, they are not just remembering the dead. They are actively invoking their strength and protection for the journey to come. This is how wisdom is transmitted, not as a lesson to be learned, but as a life to be lived. Let's just pause here for a moment. Can you feel it? The wind sweeping across the dunes, a low sigh that rustles through the canvas of the tents and the coarse manes of the camels. In that sound, you can almost hear the echo of generations past. The echo of countless families who have stood in this very spot, performing these same rites, reaffirming their bond with the desert and ensuring that each caravan moves forward with guidance, safety, and a deep, resonant harmony. It's a powerful reminder that for the Teda, they are never truly alone. As the sun climbs higher, the family turns its attention to the physical tokens of their faith. Before departure, they meticulously inspect the charms and talismans that will accompany them. These are not mere decorations. Small leather pouches, worn and soft from years of use, contain specific herbs known for their protective properties. Polished shells gathered from ancient seabeds, now lost to the sand, mark the completion of sacred journeys. On the saddles, intricate symbols are painted, each one a visual prayer, an invocation for blessings from the spirits. The women often engage in a quiet, meditative ritual of their own. As they check the ropes that will secure their precious cargo, they weave small, tight knots into the fibers. Each knot is a silent, focused prayer for endurance against the unforgiving sun, a prayer for vigilance against the unseen dangers of the desert, and a prayer for a safe and joyful return. These small, tangible tokens serve as constant reminders that the desert is both a generous ally and a formidable challenge. Respect for its power and its spirits is not just a belief. It is the very foundation of survival. The patriarch then turns his attention to the most vital members of the caravan, the camels. He addresses them aloud, his voice calm and respectful, as if he were conversing with wise and sentient companions. He calls each one by name, acknowledging its individual strength and its unique personality. He asks for their patience on the long road ahead, for their resilience in the face of hardship. This practice is not lost on the children. You'll see them mimicking their father, whispering their own gentle words to their smaller mounts. Through this, they learn one of the most crucial lessons of desert life, that communication, care, and mutual respect are just as vital to the journey as the grains they carry, the water they conserve, or the charms they wear. Each animal is both a tool and a teacher. Every journey a masterclass in observation, endurance, and finding one's own rhythm within the greater pulse of the caravan. Once the rituals are complete, a palpable shift occurs. The quiet reverence gives way to focused action. The family rises as one, and with practiced efficiency, the caravan begins to move. Feet sink softly into the sand, the camels step forward in a measured, unhurried cadence, and the air is filled with the low hum of quiet chants. But just as important as the sounds are the silences. Even the profound silence of the desert is honored, treated as a sacred space for listening and reflection. It's a reminder that wisdom comes as much from what we hear as from what we say or do. Let's pause again and just watch them. The sun is higher now, casting a brilliant golden light that makes the ripples in the sand look like waves on a frozen ocean. The shadows of the camels and the people stretch long behind them, merging and separating, creating one continuous, flowing line of movement and memory. The Teda caravan moves like a single organism, a living entity guided by the unseen threads of ritual, the unwavering strength of faith, and the accumulated wisdom of experience. They are not just crossing a landscape. They are part of it, flowing with it, a river of life in an ocean of sand. The journey itself is punctuated by smaller, repeated rituals that anchor the day. At the midday rest, when the sun is at its most ferocious, a small amount of precious water is poured onto the earth, a simple offering of thanks to the ground that supports them. As evening approaches and the camp is made, the fire is lit once more, its flames pushing back the darkness, and prayers are whispered into the cool night air. Every gesture, no matter how small, is about maintaining a delicate balance. It's a balance between tangible care, feeding the camels, rationing the water, mending the gear, and intangible devotion, honoring the spirits, remembering the ancestors, and securing the blessings that ensure their survival. The family moves through space not merely as travelers, but as active participants in an ongoing spiritual dialogue with the desert that is their home. Through this constant repetition, through this steady rhythm and attentive observation, the most important lessons are taught. The children learn endurance, not from lectures, but from walking day after day under the hot sun. They learn patience, not from commands, but from watching the slow, steady pace of the camels. And they learn humility, understanding that life in the desert is fragile and precious. It demands both a deep respect for the unseen world and an unwavering responsibility for the tangible one. Every ritual instills in them the hard-won wisdom of all the generations that came before, linking the past, the present, and the future into a single, continuous, unbroken path. As night finally falls and the desert sky becomes a blanket of brilliant stars, the family sleeps. They rest lightly, their bodies close to the warmth of the camels, their minds attuned to the whispers of the wind and the imagined heartbeats of their ancestors. These nightly rites, whether spoken in prayer or held silently in the heart, ensure that every journey is guided by faith, protected by care, and wrapped in an enduring, profound respect for the world around them. In the vast, seemingly silent expanse of the desert, there are echoes, voices from a time long past, carried on the wind, whispered through the shifting sands. This is not a silence of emptiness, but one filled with the memories and melodies of the Teda people. For them, song is not mere entertainment. It is the very vessel of their history, a sacred thread that binds each generation to its ancestors. A lifeline in one of the world's most challenging environments. Imagine the scene as dusk settles over the caravan. The day's long journey is done, and the family gathers around the comforting glow of a fire. The women begin to hum, their melodies ancient and earth-toned, tracing a lineage back through mothers and grandmothers. The men, in turn, chant low, rhythmic verses, their voices recounting epic journeys, strategic alliances, and the deep, intricate lore of the desert. And the children, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames, listen with wide-eyed wonder. They are not just hearing songs, they are absorbing instruction, history, and devotion, committing to memory the words and tunes that will one day guide them. To an outsider, these might sound like simple, beautiful melodies. But to the Teda, they are sophisticated survival tools. These songs are maps, encoding directions across a featureless landscape of sand. They are calendars, warning of when seasonal waterholes will appear and when they will vanish. They are social guides, identifying friendly and rival clans. They are encyclopedias, preserving the long and complex history of migration, trade, and conflict. The lyrics are meticulously layered. On the surface, they tell compelling stories of heroes and spirits, but delve deeper and you find a wealth of practical knowledge, survival strategies, detailed genealogies, and profound ethical lessons. What sounds like a simple tune is, in fact, the key to life itself. Every single song, every chant, begins with a solemn acknowledgement of the ancestors. The names of great-grandparents, revered caravan leaders, and the spirits that inhabit the desert are carefully woven into the verses. This isn't just about respect. It's about drawing strength and wisdom from those who walked these sands before. There's a beautiful distinction in their traditions. The women's chants often emphasize communal memory, cautionary tales, and the bonds of family. They are the keepers of the hearth and the heart of the community. The men's songs, on the other hand, tend to celebrate endurance, the importance of vigilance, and the subtle art of negotiation skills essential for protecting the caravan and securing its future. From a young age, children are trained not just to sing, but to listen. They learn to recognize the subtle shifts in rhythm, the nuanced cues in a melody that might indicate direction, signal urgency, or whisper a word of caution. Let's just pause here for a moment. Can you feel it? The wind sweeping across the dunes, carrying the soft resonance of those voices, the gentle crackle of the fire, the immense, star-dusted night stretching out over the desert as if it were a conscious entity, embracing every story, every note, and every lesson whispered into its vastness. It is in these moments of quiet reflection that the true weight of this tradition can be felt. This oral tradition is not reserved for special occasions. It is woven into the fabric of daily life, accompanying every task. As women milk the camels at dawn or prepare hides for trade, they hum lines that recall the precise location of the nearest wells, the migratory patterns of wildlife, or the legends of their people's origins. Each note is a mnemonic device, a mental anchor in the vastness. Similarly, as men guide the camels across the ever-shifting sands, they intone verses that reinforce direction, maintain a steady pace, and serve as a constant reminder to remain vigilant. Each song is both a practical tool and a meditative practice, ensuring that the body and spirit remain perfectly aligned with the demanding rhythms of the desert. This tradition is also the bedrock of their social structure and ethical code. The songs are a moral compass. They contain powerful warnings against greed, betrayal, and carelessness, vices that could spell disaster for an individual or the entire community. Conversely, they sing praises of loyalty, courage, generosity, and wisdom. reinforcing the virtues that ensure not just survival, but communal harmony. Through constant repetition and the emotional power of melody, children internalize these core principles long before they could ever read them in a book. The songs shape their character, guiding their actions and decisions throughout their lives, fostering a cohesive and resilient society. Let's pause again and listen to the quiet symphony of the desert night. The camels shift their weight with a soft grunt, the fire flickers and casts dancing shadows, and for a moment the night seems to hold its breath. In this profound quiet, the Teda feel a deep connection to their world. They understand that the desert itself is a living witness, a silent audience that absorbs every note, every story, and every memory sung into the wind, holding them in its timeless embrace. The land is not just a place they inhabit, it is a participant in their history. The entire year is structured around song. There are specific songs that mark the great seasonal transitions, the joy and relief of the first rains, the preparation for the harsh, unforgiving heat of summer, the crucial timing for the migration of their precious herds. Families use these seasonal songs to coordinate their movements across vast distances, ensuring everyone arrives at the right place at the right time. They signal when to plant fodder for the animals and when to prepare for trade caravans. Then there are the ritual songs, which are often accompanied by symbolic movements and gestures. These are more than just traditions. They are sacred acts that connect the present journey with the experiences of countless ancestors, reinforcing the sacred, unbroken continuity of life in the desert. So, when you see Teda children sitting together on the sand, their small voices repeating the ancestral chants taught by their elders, you are witnessing something truly profound. It's not a simple lesson. It is the transfer of a civilization's entire library of knowledge, culture, and wisdom. The sunset casts long shadows over the dunes. The camels rest quietly nearby, and in the soft focus of the background, the family encampment becomes a symbol of resilience. This is how a culture perpetuates itself. This is how a people remains unbreakable. Through song, history is not just remembered, it is relived. Survival is not just learned, it is rehearsed daily. And identity is not just inherited, it is actively and joyfully affirmed with every note. Every verse and every melody ties the family inextricably to the land they cross, the herds they depend on, and the spirits that watch over them. For the Teda, these songs are their prayers, their maps, their history books, and their guiding stars. Each repetition strengthens the sacred connection between the past and the present, between human and desert, and between the intimate circle of the family and the endless, awe-inspiring horizon. The desert is more than just a landscape of sand and sun. It is a crucible that tests both body and spirit. For the Teda, life is inseparable from a profound sense of faith. Before any journey begins, before a single camel is mounted or a herd is guided across the sun-baked expanse, there is a pause. It is a moment of acknowledgement, a quiet conversation with the unseen forces that govern this land. Small rituals, passed down through countless generations, form a rhythm as ancient as the dunes themselves. An elder might tie a weathered leather amulet to a camel's saddle, its worn surface a testament to journeys past. Whispered prayers are offered to ancestors, their names carried on the wind, bridging the gap between the living and those who walked these sands before. A small libation, perhaps a splash of precious water or milk, is poured onto the ground, a gesture of respect, an offering to the earth that sustains them. These acts are not merely about seeking protection from the desert's harshness. They are an affirmation of continuity, a declaration that they are part of a lineage that stretches back into the mists of time. This faith isn't reserved for grand ceremonies. It is woven into the very fabric of daily life, into every movement and every interaction. A mother gently blesses her children's small hands before they take the reins to guide the camels, infusing their task with spiritual significance. A father might trace symbolic lines in the sand, not just as a map, but as a prayer to mark safe passage. The youngest members of the family learn the ancient chants that honor the spirits of the land, their small voices joining a chorus that has echoed across these dunes for centuries. The Teda understand that the desert is not an empty, lifeless void. It is alive. It is a teacher, a silent witness to their struggles and triumphs, and at times a stern judge. Their prayers and rituals are not demands made of a higher power. They are a dialogue, a humble and respectful conversation with the world around them. Let's pause here for a moment. Imagine the scene. The wind shifts softly across the dunes, lifting the fine sand in slow, hypnotic eddies. The camels, patient and still, shift their weight, their bells tinkling softly in the vast quiet. If you listen closely, in this profound silence, you can almost hear the desert answering a subtle rustle, a change in the light responding to the prayers of those who have learned to respect its ancient, powerful rhythms. This deep, ancestral connection to the land is beautifully interlaced with their practice of Islam. To an outsider, it might seem like a blend of different beliefs, but to the Teda, it is a single, unified worldview. The names of Allah may be whispered in the same breath as traditional desert invocations. Verses from the Quran are recited while sprinkling water to bless a campsite or while placing protective charms on a newborn animal. The family sees no contradiction in this for them. Faith is additive, layered like the sediment of the desert itself. Islam provides a strong moral compass and spiritual protection, while their ancestral beliefs anchor them to their specific place in the world, to the very dunes under their feet. This synthesis reinforces the communal values of resilience, respect, and mutual support that are taught through their songs and stories. As the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows and bathing the dunes in a soft, amber light, the family might gather. They kneel together in the sand, their hands lifted in prayer, a picture of serene devotion. Nearby, the camels rest, and the small fires of their encampment begin to glow, tiny beacons of life in the immense landscape. It is a moment where all layers of their faith converge, creating a powerful sense of peace and belonging. Even the most mundane, everyday tasks are imbued with spiritual weight. Nothing is done without mindfulness. Drawing water from a deep, life-giving well is not just a chore. It is an act of gratitude. Feeding the camels, the companions who make their life possible, is done with care and reverence. Preparing animal hides for use is a meticulous process, an acknowledgement that nothing is wasted and every gift from the desert is precious. Labor is another form of worship. Children are taught from a very young age that every act of care is as vital as a whispered prayer at dawn. The gentle handling of their animals, the careful tracking of distant waterholes, the respectful way they speak to their elders, these are the building blocks of their ethical and spiritual world. Faith permeates action, embedding devotion into the daily rhythm of their lives, making every moment meaningful. Let's pause once more. The fire crackles, its warm light pushing back the immense darkness of the desert night. Shadows stretch long across the sand, dancing in the flickering flames. Above, the sky is a breathtaking canopy of stars, shimmering like scattered silver dust. The family's quiet chants, their evening prayers, and their measured movements all seem to align with the universe around them. In these moments, you realize the desert is neither empty nor silent. It is alive with memory, with spirit, and with a quiet, powerful expectation. Rituals serve as important signposts in the journey of life, marking transitions and milestones with solemnity and celebration. A child leading a camel alone for the very first time is a significant rite of passage, accompanied by prayers for their safety and future wisdom. The successful crossing of a particularly dangerous stretch of sand, known for its treacherous winds or shifting dunes, is met with offerings of thanks. Arriving at a distant, lush oasis after weeks of travel is a moment of profound joy and relief, celebrated with communal prayer and storytelling. Each of these successful passages does more than just get them from one point to another. It strengthens their bond with their herd, with each other, and with the unseen protectors of the desert. It reaffirms the core Teda understanding. Survival is not merely a practical, logistical challenge. It is, and always will be, a sacred endeavor. You can see it in the quiet determination of the children as they carry their small bundles, reciting protective verses their parents taught them. You see it as the father carefully adjusts the amulets on the camels, checking each one before setting off as twilight illuminates the endless desert horizon. Ultimately, it is this unwavering faith in the invisible that shapes the very character of the Teda people. It is the source of their incredible courage, their boundless patience, and their remarkable endurance. Their camels are not just beasts of burden. They are companions on a spiritual journey, silent witnesses to a life of devotion. The family's rhythm, the steady, rhythmic footfalls of the camels on the sand, the constant murmur of whispered prayers, the ancient songs of their ancestors carried on the breeze becomes a living meditation. It is a continuous offering to the desert that sustains them and to the past that defines them. In this vast and often unforgiving landscape, faith is not a comfort sought in times of trouble. It is the very air they breathe, the compass that guides every step, and the unbreakable thread that connects them to their world, their history, and each other. The desert has always been here, a vast, breathing expanse of sand and sky, indifferent to the lines men draw on maps. For centuries, the Teda people have called this landscape home, their lives entwined with its rhythms. But now, invisible lines, drawn by distant hands, cut through their ancestral lands. These are borders, first sketched by colonial powers, now enforced by modern nations. They slice through ancient routes that have connected oases, grazing pastures, and trading partners for generations. A journey that was once a simple, natural progression for a family and their herd is now a complex negotiation. It requires permits, official stamps, and tense encounters at checkpoints. The dunes themselves haven't changed. The wind still whispers the same old songs, but the human world has been redrawn. For the Teda, survival now demands a new kind of knowledge. The traditions that once served as their only map, the deep understanding of wells hidden beneath the sand. The subtle shifts in the wind, the patterns of the stars, are now tangled in the red tape of bureaucracy. A caravan of camels, laden with precious milk, salt, or hides, might be a symbol of wealth and sustenance. But crossing into a neighboring region can mean inspections, delays, and suspicion. The children learn this lesson early. They are taught that the maps drawn on paper don't tell the whole story. They carry a dual inheritance, the oral knowledge passed down through generations, and a cautious awareness of the new lines of human authority that now govern their world. Let's pause here for a moment. Imagine the scene: the sun setting, the fire crackling, and the desert night breathing a cool sigh around a small encampment. The wind carries whispers of the past, of ancestors who roamed these very lands with a freedom that is now just a memory. In this modern era, the Teda step lightly, carefully balancing the inherited wisdom of centuries with the hard constraints of the present. Their resilience is a quiet testament to their deep connection to this land, a connection that no border can truly sever. They are a people caught between two worlds, navigating the ancient sands with a modern map of caution and respect. The Teda have mastered the art of quiet diplomacy. They show respect for authority while fiercely preserving their autonomy. Negotiation has become a silent ritual, a subtle dance learned through years of experience on these shifting frontiers. You'll see a father or an elder son approach an official, their words measured and calm. They offer greetings, state their purpose with a blend of humility and quiet confidence that is hard to deny. Their reputation often precedes them. They are known as honest, skilled herders, people of their word. This reputation can smooth their passage. But the very existence of these checkpoints is a constant reminder that survival is now as much about perception and respect as it is about endurance and knowledge of the land. This is not a confrontation, but a conversation between two different worlds. The official, representing the state, sees lines on a map. The Teda herder sees a network of life-giving resources, a landscape alive with history and meaning. Their ability to bridge this gap, to find common ground in the harsh desert environment, is a skill as vital as finding water. The children watch these interactions from a distance, absorbing the unspoken lessons. They see their elders navigate this complex world not with anger, but with dignity and patience. They are learning that strength isn't always about resistance. Sometimes it's about the quiet wisdom to adapt without losing who you are. The sun paints the desert in hues of gold and orange, and in this timeless light, the ancient and the modern meet. These borders are more than just physical lines in the sand. They create psychological barriers as well. The elders sit by the fire, their voices low, and share stories of the old days. They speak of a time when their ancestors moved freely across the vast expanse of the Sahara, sharing waterholes with neighboring clans, trading at bustling markets that knew no nationality. These were times of connection, of alliances forged over shared hardship and mutual respect. Today, those freedoms are curtailed. The stories serve as a powerful reminder of what has been lost, but also as a way to keep that spirit of freedom alive. Oral history is the lifeline of the Teda people. It is how they ensure their children understand both the profound lessons of tradition and the stark challenges of modern governance. These stories, woven into songs and evening conversations, embed resilience into the very fabric of their being. They learn about the courage of their ancestors, their incredible knowledge of the desert, and their ability to thrive in one of the world's harshest environments. This history gives them a sense of identity that transcends any border. It teaches them that while governments may draw lines, their heritage is boundless. Let's take another moment to just listen. The stars are beginning to emerge, a brilliant canopy over the silent dunes. The camels are settled for the night, their calm presence a part of the landscape. The quiet murmur of voices carries on the wind, recounting the tales of ancient paths and legendary journeys. It's in these moments that you understand the desert remembers. It holds the footprints of every generation, and through their stories, the Teda ensure those footprints will never be erased. Their history is not written in books, but etched into the land and carried in their hearts. The impact of these borders extends deep into the social fabric of Teda life. It's not just about restricting movement. It's about straining relationships, alliances between clans, once cemented by shared grazing rights and mutual support, are now complicated by nationality. Trade routes that connected families with merchants across vast distances are subject to tariffs and regulations. Even marriages, which have long been negotiated across different groups to strengthen bonds, now face bureaucratic hurdles. Navigating life requires not just a mastery of sand and sun, but also of paperwork and official permissions. But the Teda are, above all, adaptable. They blend their ancient traditions with modern necessities, finding ways to maintain their connections despite the obstacles. They are still herders, their lives revolving around the well-being of their animals. They are still storytellers, preserving the memory and wisdom of their people. And they are still the custodians of the desert, holding its secrets and respecting its power. They adjust to the geopolitical landscape imposed from the outside, but they do so on their own terms, never losing sight of their core identity. Look at the children. They draw lines in the sand with a stick, not as borders, but as maps. They teach each other the safe routes, the locations of wells, the places where the grazing is good. They are learning to navigate the world they have inherited, a world of both natural and man-made challenges. As twilight settles, their small encampment glows with the light of a single fire, a tiny beacon of human warmth in the immense, stretching desert. The camels rest peacefully nearby. In this scene, you see the future of the Teda, a people who carry the desert in their soul, forever adapting, forever enduring. Ultimately, the Teda family understands a profound truth. These borders are temporary, human-made structures. They are lines drawn in the sand that the wind will one day erase. What endures is the desert itself, and what truly guides them is their faith in the invisible, the wisdom of their ancestors, the comfort of their spiritual beliefs, and the knowledge passed down from one generation to the next. This inner compass remains unbroken, a source of strength that no external authority can diminish. Their survival has always been measured in water and camels, in the practicalities of life in a harsh environment. But today, it is also measured in wisdom, in patience, and in a deep, abiding respect for both the seen and the unseen forces that shape their world. They move through this modern landscape with the same grace and resilience that their ancestors showed, carrying a legacy of survival that is as vast and timeless as the desert itself. Their journey is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to adapt, to persevere, and to find a way forward, no matter what lines are drawn in their path. The sun rises mercilessly over the northern Chadian desert, casting long, wavering shadows across dunes baked hard by the dry season. For the Teda people, this isn't just a landscape. It's their home, their provider, and their greatest challenge. Here, life is measured not in hours or days, but in drops of water and the strength of their camels. Every morning begins not with a casual stretch, but with a critical assessment. Where is the next watering hole? Where can we find a patch of green for the animals? Where is the next safe place to rest? The desert is both a nurturing mother and a formidable adversary, and survival demands an intimate, almost spiritual, knowledge of its ever-changing moods. Water is scarce, a currency more valuable than gold. Wells that once overflowed in the stories of their grandfathers now yield only a tantalizing trickle. The camels, the very lifeblood of the family, paw restlessly at the sand, their sensitive nostrils flaring as they search for the faintest sign of moisture buried deep beneath the cracked earth. You see, the camels are not just livestock. They are partners in this dance of survival. Their resilience mirrors the Teda's own. As the children watch the herd drink, they are not just passing the time, they are learning. They observe the camel's every move, understanding that the health of these magnificent animals is directly tied to their own future. Each careful sip from a clay pot is a lesson in conservation, a ritual of respect for the desert's finite gifts. Climate has always been the silent, relentless authority in this part of the world. But now its grip is tightening. The droughts, once cyclical and predictable, now stretch longer and longer with each passing year. This isn't an abstract news headline for the Teda. It's a daily reality that forces them to rewrite the ancient maps of their migrations. They must travel further, ration water with painstaking discipline, and make heart-wrenching decisions about the size of their herds. Too many animals will strain the already fragile land, turning sparse pasture into barren dust. But to few animals, and the family's economic and nutritional foundation crumbles. It's a razor's edge, a constant calculation of risk and reward. How do they navigate this? They turn to wisdom that isn't written in books, but is carried in the wind and etched into the memory of their elders. Fathers consult with the old ones, drawing on ancestral knowledge passed down through generations in stories, proverbs, and songs. They learn to read the clouds, not for rain, but for the promise of rain. They study the patterns of the sand, deciphering a map of both hope and caution blown by the desert winds. This knowledge isn't static. It's a living, breathing library of survival that adapts with every new challenge the climate presents. Let's just pause here for a moment. As the sun sets, the desert transforms. The fire crackles, a small beacon of warmth and community in the vast, cool darkness. The camels shift and murmur in their pens, their quiet sounds a comforting presence. In the distance, the wind carries the faint, haunting echo of old desert songs. These are melodies sung for centuries, hymns to endurance, prayers for guidance from the spirits that are believed to watch over travelers in this immense and powerful land. It's in these moments of stillness that the true strength of the Teda becomes clear. A strength forged not just in hardship, but in connection to each other, to their history, and to the very soul of the desert itself. But the changing climate is not the only challenge they face. A new layer of complexity is drawn over the natural hardships, the lines of politics and conflict. Man-made borders and regional tensions create hazards that are just as dangerous as a dry well. These invisible lines can cut off ancient migration routes. Traders in one region may restrict passage, demanding tolls, or barring entry altogether. Conflicts can flare between neighboring clans, often over the same scarce resources the Teda depend on. And modern governments, with their own priorities for security or resource extraction, can impose restrictions that disrupt traditional ways of life. The family must navigate these human pressures with a different kind of skill, not just endurance, but diplomacy and profound patience. A misstep, a harsh word, or a misunderstanding can endanger not just their livestock, but their very lives. We see a Teda father, his face weathered by the sun and wind, sitting under the shade of a lone acacia tree. He isn't resting. He is negotiating with a village chief, his words chosen as carefully as he chooses a path through a rocky canyon. His tone is measured, respectful. Behind him, the children keep the camels calm and quiet, understanding that this quiet negotiation is as crucial to their survival as finding water. The arid landscape stretches endlessly around them, a silent witness to the delicate dance of human interaction that unfolds on its surface. The Teda have a deep, instinctual understanding of the delicate balance between endurance and adaptation. In this, the camel is once again their greatest teacher and their most honest indicator. If the animals begin to weaken, the herders know that the humans will soon suffer. If they move too late, waiting for a clearer sign, The water will run dry, and the desert will assert its unforgiving claim. Every single journey is calculated with incredible precision. They consider the daily mileage they can cover without exhausting the herd. They read the direction of the wind, knowing it can help or hinder their progress, and carry scents of distant forage. They map out the availability of grazing grounds in their minds, weighing the benefit of a green patch against the energy it takes to reach it. In this way, the desert dictates the rhythm of life, but the family retains its agency. They are not passive victims of their environment. They are active participants, weaving their survival with the sacred rituals and practical teachings of their ancestors. And this learning starts young. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of distant shrubs and the faint, lonely cry of a desert fox. The children, instead of playing idly, imitate the cautious movements of their elders. They practice the silent language of vigilance, learning to scan the horizon, to listen for unfamiliar sounds, to be aware of their surroundings. Meanwhile, the mothers distribute the day's rations, a handful of dates, a small portion of precious camel milk, reinforcing through action the fundamental lessons of resourcefulness, conservation, and patience. The convergence of conflict and climate becomes most acute during the driest months, the leanest time of the year. This is when the pressure is at its peak. When water is scarcest, it can pit communities against one another, turning neighbors into rivals. A single well can become a flashpoint for tension. Yet, even in these desperate times, the Teda often choose negotiation over confrontation. They draw upon ancient codes of hospitality and pragmatic survival strategies. They might share a well in exchange for cattle, or for help in defending against a common threat. They understand that today's rival could be tomorrow's ally, and that burning a bridge could mean perishing from thirst later on. As evening falls and the family gathers around a flickering fire, these lessons are reinforced through stories. The camels rest nearby, their silhouettes forming gentle mounds against the sand dunes, which undulate softly in the moonlight. An elder recounts tales of past droughts, of famines and hardships overcome by their ancestors. The children listen, their faces illuminated by the firelight, absorbing not just history, but a blueprint for resilience. These stories are not meant to frighten, but to empower. They teach the young that endurance is a form of faith, and that patience is not passive waiting, but a sacred and powerful tool. A mother shares water and milk, and in that simple act, she communicates a universe of meaning about sharing, community, and the belief that together they can weather any storm. Through all of this, the heat, the thirst, the political strife, the desert teaches its most profound lesson: humility. No herder, no matter how skilled or wise, can control the rain, the wind, or the sun. They cannot command the earth to give water or the sky to give shade. But what they can do is learn to read the land, to listen to its subtle language. They can respect its rhythms, moving with them instead of against them. And they can follow the wisdom of their ancestors, trusting in the knowledge that has allowed their people to thrive in this formidable environment for centuries. The shifting climate is a test of their adaptability. Conflict is a lesson in their diplomacy. For the Teda, survival is not merely a physical act. It is a spiritual practice, a daily ritual of observation, discipline, and a deep-seated trust in the unseen forces that guide each step, each hoofbeat, and each breath across the vast, beautiful, and unforgiving expanse of the Sahara. In the heart of the Sahara, where dunes stretch into an endless horizon, time itself seems to stand still. For the Teda people, this timeless expanse is home. Yet, a new kind of time is pressing in, one marked not by the sun and stars alone, but by the soft beep of mobile phones against the desert's profound quiet. This is the story of a people navigating a world in flux, a delicate dance between ancient tradition and the encroaching rhythms of modernity. Look closely and you'll see the juxtapositions. A Teda woman with practiced hands milks a camel, a ritual as old as her ancestors. Nearby, her child's face is illuminated by the glow of a smartphone. In the distance, solar panels glint, humming a quiet tune of progress. Travelers and tourists, drawn by the mystique of the desert, observe from a respectful distance, curious about the camels, the vibrant red sand, and the unique cadence of Teda life. For this family and for their entire community, the challenge is immense. How to integrate these new rhythms without losing the sacred pulse that has sustained them for generations. The education of a Teda child is no longer a simple matter of imitation and oral stories. It has become a layered tapestry, weaving together ancient practices and modern tools. A father teaches his son how to lead a camel caravan, not just by tracing constellations across the night sky, but also by guiding his small hand to photograph a hidden water source or mark its GPS coordinates on a device. Knowledge is now a braid of old and new, each strand strengthening the other. The wisdom of the stars and the precision of a satellite map become intertwined, ensuring the journey's success. This is how they survive, by blending the deep memory of the land with the tools that can help them navigate its modern challenges. Let's take a moment to just be here. Close your eyes and listen. Can you hear it? The wind sighs across the dunes, a long, low whisper carrying the scent of dry grasses and the distant promise of rain. As evening settles, the campfire crackles, its flames casting long, dancing shadows across the camp. It's in these quiet moments that the elders speak. They recount tales of great caravans that crossed borders without maps, relying solely on memory, instinct, and the subtle language of the land. Their stories are not just entertainment. They are lessons in patience, adaptability, and the profound connection between a people and their environment. They speak of a time when the world was different, yet the core virtues required to navigate it remain the same. The arrival of tourism presents a quiet, yet persistent, challenge. Visitors often come seeking spectacle, an authentic desert experience, sometimes unaware that for the Teda, every step, every gesture, every ritual is steeped in sacred meaning. It's a delicate balance between extending hospitality and protecting what is most precious. The Teda have learned to navigate this with grace. They understand the curiosity of outsiders, but they also know the importance of preserving the sanctity of their traditions. Ceremonies are sometimes adapted, but never diminished. A symbolic camel blessing might be offered for tourists to witness, a demonstration for learning, while the deeper, more spiritual meanings remain held within the community. It's a way of sharing their world without giving away its soul, ensuring the desert's ancient rhythms are honored even amid the flash of a camera. But the challenges run deeper than curious visitors. The very earth is shifting beneath their feet. Climate change is a stark reality here. Water sources, the lifeblood of the desert, are shrinking. Traditional grazing areas move, sometimes across newly drawn political borders, and new laws can impose limits on a way of life that has always been defined by freedom of movement. Yet, resilience is a Teda inheritance. Faced with these modern pressures, they don't despair, they adapt. Families collaborate with neighboring clans, sharing vital information about water and pasture. They negotiate access to land, blending ancestral wisdom with modern diplomacy. Every journey becomes a lesson in patience and negotiation, and every ritual a powerful reinforcement of their identity in a changing world. Let's pause again. The fire crackles once more. In its warm glow, you can see the children softly practicing the old camel songs, their voices carrying the melodies of generations. The elders nod in approval, their faces etched with the wisdom of 1,000 desert nights. All around them, the vast, silent desert stretches on, a timeless witness to their endurance. Even in the face of profound uncertainty, continuity thrives. It lives in these small, deliberate acts: a song, a story, a shared meal that bind the community together, strengthening their resolve to face whatever comes next. This is the heart of their resilience, finding stability not in the world around them, but within their shared culture and connection to one another. Technology, which could so easily disrupt this life, is instead incorporated with incredible thoughtfulness. It is a tool, not a master. Those solar panels you saw aren't just for charging phones. They power radios that bring in vital weather reports, allowing herders to anticipate sandstorms or find distant rain. Mobile phones send messages between far-flung herding parties, enabling coordination on a scale that was once impossible. Yet, these messages don't disrupt the traditional leadership structures. The elders still make the final decisions. Tradition adapts, but it does not fracture. Each innovation is carefully measured against the ancestral principles of respect, responsibility, and spiritual attunement with the desert. If a tool serves these principles, it is welcomed. If it threatens them, it is rejected. As the Teda elders will tell you, adaptation is not abandonment. It is the very definition of survival with dignity. It is an ongoing conversation across time, where the ancestors' wisdom informs the choices of the present. Look at their hands. They are calloused from a lifetime of tending camels and crafting shelters from the sparse resources of the desert. But now, those same hands guide a young fingertip across a digital screen. Listen to their voices. For centuries, they have echoed across the sands, carrying the old stories. Now, those same voices narrate new experiences, weaving tales of GPS coordinates and radio signals into the ancient epics. The desert listens patiently, a silent teacher, reminding them that the spirit of a people is not fixed in one place or one time. It moves, it flows, it adapts, and above all, it persists. And so, the fundamental rhythm of Teda life continues. It is a rhythm of water, wind, sand, and camels. Modern pressures are not ignored. They are acknowledged, met, and carefully woven into the rich fabric of tradition. The core values of faith, patience, and endurance remain the unshakable pillars of their culture. In every sunrise that paints the dunes in gold, in every star that guides them through the night, and in every steady, rhythmic stride of a camel, the Teda are balancing the past with the present. They are not just surviving, they are actively preserving the very essence of who they are, while embracing the tools that will allow their unique culture to endure for generations to come. In the endless expanse of the Sahara, where the wind, sand, and sun paint a canvas of raw, elemental beauty, life moves to a rhythm older than memory. The silence here is profound, a vessel holding both the echoes of the past and the quiet yearnings for the future. Within this immense landscape, the Teda camel herding family charts a course guided by centuries of wisdom. Their footsteps in the sand, a living continuation of lessons handed down from ancestors. For the Teda, time isn't measured in the frantic ticking of a clock, but in the steady breaths of their camels, the precious flow of water, and the subtle language of the wind as it whispers over the dunes. Imagine the scene. As night descends, a small fire crackles, its gentle light pushing back the vast darkness. The desert stars emerge, one by one, scattered like diamonds across a velvet sky. The family gathers close, sharing warmth, quiet stories, and a sense of profound connection. In these intimate moments, the sheer vastness of the desert feels less like an emptiness and more like a knowing presence, a witness that listens and remembers. The Teda family is a living embodiment of endurance and devotion. Each morning is a ritual. The mother and daughters braid ochre into their hair, a symbol of their heritage, and smear red clay on their skin, a shield against the sun and a connection to the earth. They offer whispered prayers for safety, for prosperity, for the health of their herd. Each evening, the father checks on the camels, his practiced eyes scanning for any sign of unease. He teaches the children to read the constellations, to navigate by the stars, and to understand the wind's subtle messages. Every act, from milking a camel to mending a saddle, is both practical and sacred, a seamless weaving of survival, culture, and spirituality. Modernity, with its relentless march, brushes against the edges of this timeless world. Mobile phones connect them to distant relatives, solar panels power a single light bulb, and faint tire tracks sometimes cross their ancient trails. But here, adaptation does not mean erasure. Instead, new technologies are carefully absorbed, measured against ancestral principles, and harmonized with their way of life. The young learn not only to ride and herd camels, but also to navigate the digital world, balancing the demands of tradition with the pull of the new. The elders watch with patient eyes, their guidance ensuring that each innovation is tempered with the wisdom of generations, so that the core of their culture remains unshaken. Let's just pause and listen. The camels shift softly in their sleep, their quiet grunts a comforting sound in the deep silence. The night wind hums a low, ancient song across the dunes, and the stars continue their slow, majestic arc overhead. In this profound quiet, the continuity of Teda life becomes almost tangible, as real and present as the footprints they will leave in the sand at dawn. The family's rhythm mirrors the very heartbeat of the desert, steady, patient, and unbroken. For them, camels are more than just animals. They are walking prayers, carrying water, sustenance, and the memory of generations across the unforgiving landscape. Children grow not just in stature, but in understanding. They learn that responsibility, honor, and faith are not abstract concepts, but are woven into the fabric of their daily tasks. Each ritual, from sharing a meal to guiding the herd, and each careful stride across the sand, is a lesson in resilience, a reinforcement of their identity, even as they face the modern challenges of shifting borders, an unpredictable climate, and the distractions of a world far removed from their own. The family maintains its cohesion. Their unwavering faith in ancestral guidance, their intimate knowledge of the land, and their careful stewardship of every resource are what sustain them through a world of harsh heat and scarce water. For the Teda, survival is intertwined with devotion. Each step across the sand is both a physical necessity and a moving meditation. The desert is their greatest teacher, instilling in them patience, observation, discipline, and a deep, abiding humility. Listen again to the whisper of the wind as it weaves through the dunes. It carries the soft laughter of children and the murmured advice of their elders. The night enfolds their camp in a protective embrace, and the family rests within its rhythm, secure in their belonging, certain of their place in the world. The Teda's story is a powerful testament to the endurance of culture. For them, labor is a form of prayer. Every gesture, every word, every act of care is a hymn to continuity. The desert, in its vast and impartial grandeur, both shapes and witnesses their existence. And as the dunes shift with the wind, as the sun arcs across the sky, as the camels plod onward with their unerring patience, The family's spirit persists deeply rooted in land, lineage, and ritual. Their lives remind us that survival is not merely about endurance. It is about attentive presence, about honoring the ancestors who walked before, and about carrying forward knowledge as both a sacred gift and a profound duty. The rhythms of the desert, the teachings of the elders, and the whispers of the wind all converge in their daily practice, ensuring that the Teda heritage is not a relic of the past, but something vibrant, living, and breathing. In this way, they teach us a quiet but powerful lesson that culture, devotion, and love are inseparable from daily labor, and that tradition is like a river that can bend to meet the present without ever losing its source. And so, in their own steady, measured way, their footsteps, their prayers, and their songs will continue to echo across the Sahara for generations to come. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories from unique corners of our world. You are under Baobab skies,